What's up guys, my name is Ace, and welcome back to another gun guide. This is the series where I go into great detail with all of the stats as well as some excellent attachment combinations for every gun in Call of Duty Vanguard. And in today's episode, we're going to be covering the brand new LMG that came with Season 2. This is the Whitley. And starting it off with our damage profile, the Whitley will be a 3 to 4 shot kill anywhere in the body. Doesn't matter if that's the limbs or the torso, it'll be a 3 to 4 shot kill. And then when we have a look at our headshot damage, we deal a lot of damage to the head. We deal 61 damage up close, which is pretty crazy. And with this damage profile, all it takes is one single headshot mixed in with body shots at any range to reduce the number of shots to kill, meaning it's actually not that difficult to get a 2-shot kill with this gun. Now, when it comes to our rate of fire, this is the slowest in the LMG category at 551 rounds per minute. And what this means for our time to kill potential is in the 3-shot kill range, it'll be 218 milliseconds, which is a very solid base time to kill, and it's actually the second best in the LMG category. As for headshots, if you land that one single headshot combined with a body shot, we get a 2-shot kill with a time to kill potential of 109 milliseconds, which is pretty much unstoppable. Then when it comes to our bullet velocity, this is standard for LMGs at 930 meters per second. And now let's have a look at our ranges, which our 3-shot kill range is pretty impressive at 55 meters. This is going to be covering the vast majority of gunfights in the game. And then when we have a look at hardcore game modes, the Whitley will be a 1-shot kill anywhere in the body at any range, which is really nice to see. As for our hipfire, even though the menus state that this has the worst hipfire spread in the LMG category, when you actually look at the comparison, it's average. It's right in line with the MG42 as well as the DP27. After that though, let's have a look at our idle sway, which as we can see here, there is some movement with our sights when aiming down sight, but it's fairly slow moving and generally this shouldn't be a big issue for you. And now let's get into our recoil, which as you can see there isn't a crazy amount of magnitude with this recoil. It doesn't kick up super high, it kicks upward and to the right, but there's a couple things to point out. The first thing is there's a decent jump between the first and second shot, which is a very important element of the recoil, so that is one thing to keep in mind. And then after about 8 shots fired, it will kick pretty hard to the right before settling back into a normal diagonal sort of a pattern. And if you aren't prepared for this sudden kick to the right, it will throw you off target, but it is fairly consistent at least, so if you're ready for it, it's not a big deal. Now, moving into our handling, one of the big downsides of the Whitley is it has the slowest aim down sight time for LMGs, which is saying something. This is 475 milliseconds, which is very slow. However, our sprint to fire time is standard for LMGs at 300 milliseconds for our standard sprint out time. Then when it comes to our reload add time, we actually have a pretty great reload time for an 80-round magazine on an LMG at just 2.77 seconds. After that, let's have a look at our mobility, and unfortunately the Whitley has the worst mobility in the LMG category. It's got the slowest base movement speed, slowest sprint speed, and slowest aim walking speed out of all of the LMGs. So even though it's got a lot of power potential and time to kill potential, it is quite slow and clunky even for an LMG. And with that pretty much covers it for the base Whitley. Now let's start moving into the attachments, and of course, as always, we'll start it off with barrels and their recoil. When it comes to the first barrel, this one really nicely reduces our recoil, and it significantly cuts down on any sort of horizontal recoil we experience, which is great. The second barrel, on the other hand, this one increases our fire rate and also massively increases our recoil. Although I will say it's not like this is a completely uncontrollable recoil pattern, it's just there's a lot more than the base gun. As for the third barrel, this one seems to cut down on the horizontal recoil nicely, but the total magnitude is roughly the same as the base version. And then finally, I was very surprised to see this last recoil pattern because with that barrel, our fire rate is almost 1100 rounds per minute. You're literally doubling the fire rate, and yet that's a pretty incredible recoil pattern for a gun that has a rate of fire of 1100 rounds per minute. As for our barrel ranges, as you can see there, the shrouded barrel will pretty significantly reduce our 3-shot kill potential. The third barrel, which is that ragdoll barrel, this one significantly increases our 3-shot kill potential all the way out to almost 90 meters, which is going to cover basically every single gunfight in the game. And then finally, it's worth noting with that final barrel, our range value is the same, but it's no longer got a 3-shot kill potential to the body. And with that, I want to dive a bit deeper into the barrels that directly impact our time to kill potential. And the first one is that shrouded barrel. This one increases our rate of fire up to 681 rounds per minute, which is pretty solid. And what this does to our time to kill potential is in the 3-shot kill range, our time to kill is now 176 milliseconds. And that's pretty incredible considering this applies to the entire body as well. Now, the two unfortunate downsides with this barrel though, first up, the recoil. As we already saw, this has the worst recoil pattern out of all of the barrels, but it's not completely uncontrollable. You're just limiting yourself pretty severely at long ranges. And then also, speaking of ranges, like we saw earlier, the shrouded barrel very noticeably decreases our 3-shot kill range. So with this one, I'd say it's an excellent option if you're just going for a more close to mid-range style weapon, but the moment you try stretching that range out, this is where it starts to fall apart, so it does lack versatility. As for the only other barrel that directly impacts our time to kill potential, this is the fourth one, which is the rapid barrel, which, like I said earlier, this one doubles our rate of fire potential up to just under 1100 rounds per minute, which is ridiculously fast. That's one of the fastest firing guns in the entire game. However, we do lose our 3-shot kill potential up close, but the rate of fire increase more than makes up for this, so we still get a ridiculously fast time to kill potential at 165 milliseconds at any range. Now, it is worth noting, in the maximum damage range, you can hit them anywhere in the body for a 4-shot kill, but beyond that 55 meter damage drop-off, you have to hit every shot to the torso if you want to maintain a 4-shot kill, or you can use hollow point, which will keep it a consistent 4-shot kill anywhere. So with this one, I think the biggest thing is how surprisingly accurate this is for its rate of fire, and therefore I would say this is actually pretty viable if you wanted something that has a crazy rate of fire like that. And with that, that's going to wrap it up for the barrel attachments. Now let's move on to magazines, and we'll once again start it off with recoil. When it comes to using 303 British, this actually increases the magnitude of our recoil, which was surprising since it is coded as a smaller caliber in this game. But you'll also notice with this, there's less horizontal recoil to contend with, so in some ways this is actually going to be more accurate and easier to control. And then when it comes to 50 BMG, this one slightly increases the magnitude of recoil, but not by a large margin by any means. There's a little bit more bounciness to it, and it kicks a little bit more than the base gun, but not by a large margin. As for how these impact our ranges, with 303 British, you can see it's now a 4-shot kill at any range, and our damage drop-off is also lower at just under 45 meters. However, with 50 BMG, we can now get a 2-shot kill potential in the maximum damage range, and that maximum damage range extends out to almost 70 meters, which is very impressive. And getting a little bit deeper into these, with 303 British, like I said, it's now a 4-shot kill at any range, and it comes with an improvement to our rate of fire up to 652 rounds per minute. Now, unfortunately, our time to kill potential up close is no longer very good with this at 276 milliseconds. And also, it's worth noting, in order to maintain that 4-shot kill at longer ranges, every bullet needs to hit the torso, unless, of course, you combine this with hollow point, which gives you a 4-shot kill anywhere in the body. Overall, though, I would say generally this is just not a good attachment because your close range time to kill isn't very competitive anymore. As for 50 BMG, this one's a completely different story. This one turns the gun into a 2 to 3 shot kill. However, you're going to be in the 2-shot kill range in the vast majority of practical lines of sight in this game. And this does come with a reduction to our rate of fire down to 428.6 rounds per minute, but our time to kill potential is still incredible at 140 milliseconds for a 2-shot kill. When we also consider the fact that this doesn't really add a whole lot of recoil, obviously there's a bit more recoil than the base gun, but this is still very manageable, very controllable. And also, this is a 150 round magazine with such a slow fire rate, so that will last you for a very long time without even needing to reload at all. This makes this an absolute top tier attachment. I highly recommend using this. It actually turns the Whitley into one of the best guns in the entire game, in my opinion. And this is where we can finally move into some excellent attachment combinations, and the first one I've got for you is a fairly basic build. This is just using the base ammo type, which is actually very solid on its own. You don't necessarily need 50 BMG to make this an incredible gun. But with this one, some of the keys are that ragdoll barrel. This is mainly for the ridiculous range increase that we get, combined with the fact that it really cuts down on horizontal recoil. So this gun is quite accurate, easy to handle, and it's going to be a 3-shot kill in pretty much every line of sight you can think of in the entire game. I also tried to really balance out a lot of the handling and mobility attachments so we don't have too slow of an aim down sight time, for instance, and that makes this setup quite versatile, especially with Frenzy on there as well. That's really nice if you're getting into multiple gunfights against multiple people. So yeah, if you're looking for a more basic, super versatile option of the Whitley, this is an excellent way to run the gun. Having said that though, my preference is the 2-shot monster build. So this is using that 150 round 50 BMG mag on there. We once again do have the ragdoll barrel. This is just to make sure we have a ridiculous 2-shot kill potential out to 95 meters. And with this, our aim down sight time is noticeably slower than the previous build that I made, but I tried to cut it down as much as I reasonably can while still using 50 BMG, because 50 BMG, that is one of the big downsides. It really harms your aim down sight time, but you'll just have to keep that in mind and maybe slow your playstyle down just a little bit with this. But if you're pre-aimed on somebody, they basically just don't stand a chance, because this is going to be killing people in 140 milliseconds very consistently. This is also very accurate and easy to control. That recoil pattern is no problem, even at really long ranges. This thing is just excellent, and once you get access to all of these attachments, I definitely recommend giving this a go. Now, just a quick note about the proficiency. I just sort of threw Dismantle on there for variety's sake, because this can be excellent for taking out enemy streaks, but of course, if you want to use something like Frenzy, by all means, make sure you throw that on the class setup. And with that, that's going to wrap it up for today's gun guide on the brand new Whitley LMG. As for my thoughts on this gun, I actually think it's my new favorite LMG. I really enjoy using this with or without the 50 BMG. Honestly, even right out of the box with very few attachments unlocked, I have a great time using this gun. I highly recommend giving it a shot if you guys haven't yet. And that's pretty much it. This is where I want to hear from you guys in the comment section below. What do you think of the Whitley LMG so far? And do you think it's maybe a little overpowered even with the 50 BMG, or do you think it's balanced just fine? Also, if you guys have missed any of the previous episodes, including the recent addition, the KG-M40, I will leave a link to the gun guide playlist in the description down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.